Thank you. Secretary...
I just did an interview with you guys. This guy gets all the exclusives. How's this? All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you for more of your time, Secretary Rubio.
No, thank you. That's why I'm here.
Wanted to ask you, you met in the last several days with the leaders of Greenland and Denmark in Munich. Is there agreement or acceptance from the U.S. side that the issue of ceding sovereignty of Greenland to the U.S. is no longer on the table, or that Greenland will not ultimately become part of the U.S.? And on Syria, you also met with the foreign minister in Munich. Several Republican congressional leaders have talked about serious concerns over al-Shara's ability to fulfill the conditions that you had laid out in May of 2025, and saying he's moving backwards on some of those regarding treatment of minorities, the role of foreign fighters. Do you share that assessment? And was that something you conveyed to the foreign minister? And then Prime Minister Fico, can you clarify the situation regarding oil supplies via the Druzhba pipeline? And do you have any information on why the flows have not resumed? Or can you confirm Hungary's claim that Ukraine has indeed repaired the damaged section of the pipeline, but that there is no political will from the Ukrainian side to restart that flow? And lastly, on energy, Prime Minister.
That's like 4 questions. How does the guy get 4 questions?
Just in terms of the...
You guys did a pool or something?
The energy reduction, the energy reliance dependence of Slovakia on Russia, is that something that you're willing, that Slovakia is willing to reduce or end the oil and gas imports, or to increase imports of fuels like LNG from the U.S.? Thank you both so much.
All right. I don't even remember your first question. I think it was about Greenland and Denmark, right? Okay. Yeah, we met with them. We're meeting with them. I'm not going to talk about it. I told you guys we're not going to have this thing back and forth in media and press conferences. We have a good process in place. We're engaging with them. I feel very positive and optimistic that we're on a good trajectory. In the case of Syria, actually, let me point something out. Number one, we met with the foreign minister of Syria. You know who else was there? General Muslim. They came together. The Kurdish leader was there. We put that out. I don't know why that wasn't reported. Interestingly, by the way, I read, and I knew this was going to happen. I told my people to tell you this because I knew this was going to happen. We couldn't go to a Ukraine meeting that they were having, one of the multiple Ukraine meetings that we attend. We couldn't go to one of them. And the reason why we couldn't go to that one with 4 other European countries is because we were meeting with Syria and the Kurds. I couldn't figure out a way how to be in 2 places at the same time. It's a problem many people face. You can't be in 2 places at the same time. So we met with the Syrian foreign minister and with the General Muslim on behalf of the Kurds, a historic meeting, okay, together in the same meeting. Now, let me say that no one here has ever disputed that the challenge of Syria was going to be a very significant one, okay? We are dealing with elements that, as we've said in the past, we have concerns about things that they have done in the past. But the bottom line was we had 2 choices in Syria. Choice number 1 was to let the place fall apart into 18 different pieces, long-term civil war, instability, mass migration, playground for terrorists, ISIS running all over the place, Iran getting back in. That was choice number 1. Choice number 2 is to try to see if it was possible to work with these interim authorities and with al-Shara and with his team. Guess what? We chose number 2 because it was made sense. Now, is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be difficult? Absolutely. Is it going to have ups and downs and good days and bad days? No doubt about it. Here's the fact, okay? And I'm not saying that this tells you that we should claim victory and start a parade, but here's the fact. The fact is that when this situation erupted in the northeast of Syria, the president engaged personally, not once but twice with al-Shara, and he said, stop the fighting, so that we can move the ISIS prisoners that are there. Thousands of ISIS prisoners who, by the way, could have broken out and created havoc and chaos. Stop the fighting so that we can move these ISIS prisoners, and so that we have more time to work on this reintegration, the integration of the Kurds into the national Syrian forces. And al-Shara did it. Now, he's kept his word up to this point. Obviously, he has to keep doing that. But that's what we've been able to achieve. We've been able to at least get him to agree to do that, and that's been important because we've been able to move those prisoners into Iraq and out of harm's way so that we don't have a massive jailbreak and 4,000 or 5,000 ISIS killers running crazy all over the place and threatening us in the future. And It's given us time to work on this integration agreement, which they have agreed to between the Kurds and the Syrian authorities in Damascus. Now, you have to implement that agreement. That's not going to be easy. And there are other such agreements that they need to reach with the Druze, with the Bedouins, with the Alawis, with all the elements of a very diverse society in Syria. But we think we think that outcome, as difficult as it's been, is far better than a Syria that would have been broken up into 8 pieces, with all kinds of fighting going on, all kinds of mass migration. So we're very, very positive about that. And as far as members of Congress are concerned, we've worked with them on this. We've kept them informed. We've invited them to many of the meetings. In fact, Ambassador Barrack was in Washington last week briefing the congressional committees, always very blunt and very honest about the challenges involved in executing on this very difficult situation. But we think it's headed in a positive direction, even though it's been tested. There's been some difficult days. Frankly, there's been some days that have been, very concerning. But we like the trajectory. We have to keep it on that trajectory. We've got good agreements in place. The key now is implementation, and we'll be very involved in that regard. Those were my 2 questions, right? Okay.
Pán redaktor, dovolím si spojiť obidve vaše otázky
to join your 2
a
questions
naraz
together, and I'm
jednou
going to
odpoveďou.
answer the one answer.
Keď krajiny bojujú,
When countries fight,
ako to je v prípade
just like in the
Ukrajiny,
case of Ukraine,
tak sa už nehľadí na nič.
no one
Používa
considers
sa
anything.
propaganda z
All
jednej strany,
matters
z druhej
can be
strany.
used. The propaganda is used from
A
both
tak ako
sides. And just like
Ukrajina obviňuje Ruskú
Ukraine
federáciu, že
accuses Russian
zneužíva
Federation that they are
energie,
using
ako
energies
sú
as
ropa a plyn
gas and oil to
na politické účely,
their political goals.
tak aj druhá strana
And
zase
also
obviňuje
the other
Ukrajinu, že
side
robí to isté.
also blames Ukraine for the very same thing.
Pán redaktor, my sme pravidelne cez Slovensko ťahali plyn,
Slovakia
ktorý
used to
išiel cez
transport
Ukrajinu
gas
na
that went
Slovensko do
through
západnej
Ukraine
Európy.
from Ukraine through Slovakia to Western
A
Europe.
zarábali sme na tom na
We
tranzitných poplatkoch
made
okolo 500 miliónov eur
around
ročne.
500 million euros per year just on
Ukrajina
transit
tým, že
fees.
tranzitovala ruský plyn
And
do
Ukraine, by
Európy,
transiting,
zarábala
by transit fees
na tranzitných poplatkoch
from
okolo
Russian gas,
800 až
they made
900
around
miliónov eur
from
ročne.
800 to 900 millions of
A
euros
prišlo
per year.
ideologické rozhodnutie.
And then ideological
Cez
decision was
Ukrajinu
made.
sa nebude ťahať ruský plyn,
No Russian
znamená,
gas
nebude sa
will
ťahať
go
ani
through
cez
Ukraine.
Slovensko.
So it will
Pravdepodobne
not also go
Ukrajine
through Slovakia.
tá miliarda
So
nechýba,
I
pretože
guess
dostávajú
Ukraine is not
obrovské
missing that
príjmy,
1 billion, but
obrovské
they are
pôžičky. To
getting
sú
huge loans,
100 milióny, to sú
hundreds,
miliardy, to
millions,
sú jednoducho
billions.
také sumy peňazí,
So
o
crazy
ktoré si
amounts
nevieme
of
ani
money. We
predstaviť.
cannot even imagine it.
Za týchto podmienok
And
chcem povedať,
In those
že
circumstances, I'd
Slovensko
like
sa
to say
správa veľmi
that
zodpovedne.
Slovakia is
Mohli by sme byť
behaving
urazení
seriously.
a mohli by sme prijať
We could
odvetné
get
opatrenia
mad
proti Ukrajine.
and get
Ale my na Ukrajine
accept,
nevidíme prezidenta Zelenského.
some measures against Ukraine, but we do
Nevidíme
not see
politikov. Ja tam
Zelensky
vidím
in Ukraine. We do
deti,
not see
ženy a rodiny,
politicians. We see
ktoré potrebujú prežiť ťažkú
children,
zimu.
Families that have
A
to
preto sme
survive
sa
a harsh
rozhodli, že
winter.
napriek tomu,
And
čo
because
nám
of that,
Zelenský urobil,
we decided that despite
že nás
what
obralo 500 miliónov
Zelensky did to
eur
us,
ročne,
he took 500 million euros
dodávame
per
na
year from
Ukrajinu
us.
elektrickú energiu,
We
To sú
provide
takzvané
Ukraine with electricity.
špeciálne
Those are so-called
zásielky elektriny, keď im zlyháva energetický systém.
Provisions of electricity when
A
their
my im
electricity
dodávame, či
system
tomu
fails.
veríte alebo
And
neveríte,
believe it
aj
or
plyn.
not, we also provide them with
Napriek
gas,
tomu, že z východu na
despite
západ
the
tu
fact
netečie.
that there is no flow from east to west.
Pýtate sa súčasne aj na
At the same time,
ropu,
you're
tak chcem
asking
povedať,
about
že
oil. So I would just like
je
to
tu
say
rozhodnutie, ktoré sa nazýva Repower
there
EU,
is a decision, so-called
ktoré
Repower
1.
EU,
novembra
and 1st November
2027
2027,
zastavuje akýkoľvek
from that
tranzit,
date, any transit
ruského plynu
Russian
do Európy,
gas
čo nám
will be
spôsobí
stopped
obrovské ťažkosti.
from Russia to Europe. This will
Nechcem to tu
cause
teraz
great
vysvetľovať.
trouble. I don't want to get
Ale
into
ako krajina,
detail
ktorá
here.
sme boli
But
na
as a
začiatku
country
rúry, sme na konci
that
rúry.
has always been at the
Nemáme
beginning
k
of the
dispozícii
pipeline, will
prístavy
be
s
at
LNG
its end. We don't have
terminálmi. To nám
LNG
mimoriadne
terminals.
komplikuje
This
situáciu. A hovorili
greatly
sme o tom
complicates
s
our
pánom
matter.
ministrom
We spoke
zahraničných
about
vecí.
this with the Secretary of
Ja si
State.
myslím, že
And I
pri
think
povojnovom usporiadaní Ukrajiny
After when
je treba sa vážne
after
rozprávať
war,
o vlastníctve plynovodu,
decisions on
ktorý ide
Ukraine,
cez
I
Ukrajinu,
think we'll have to
aby
discuss
sa
in all seriousness the
nestal
ownership
naďalej
of this pipeline,
nástrojom
so
pri
it will
vydieraní
not be
jednotlivých krajín.
a blackmail instrument
Teraz k
regarding
rope
all countries.
a
And
k
now
situácii,
regarding
ktorá je
oil
v tomto okamihu.
and the current situation.
Ukrajina sa domáha členstva v Európskej
Ukraine
únii.
wants to be a member state of the
Sú
EU.
tu krajiny, ktoré nehovoria
There are
pravdu Ukrajine.
countries who are not speaking
sú tu
the
krajiny,
truth
ktoré
about
hovoria
Ukraine. And
pravdu
then there are
Ukrajine.
countries which speak the
Maďarsko
truth
je
about
dlhodobo
Ukraine. Hungary,
absolútne
for a
férové
long
voči
time, has
Ukrajine,
been fair
keď hovorí,
towards Ukraine when
že nebudú
saying
súhlasiť s
they
členstvom
will not
Ukrajiny v
agree
Európskej
with
únii.
Ukraine membership to
My
the
na Slovensku
EU. In
hovoríme,
Slovakia,
že
we
môže
say
vstúpiť Ukrajina
that
do Európskej únie za
Ukraine
predpokladu,
can join
že splní
the
všetky
EU under
nevyhnutné
the assumption
podmienky.
they will meet all the
My teraz
necessary
nemôžeme
criteria.
oklamať Srbsko,
We cannot lie
nemôžeme
now
oklamať
to
Čiernu Horu,
Serbia or
nemôžeme
Montenegro
oklamať Albánsko.
or
Tieto krajiny
Albania.
sú
Those countries
stokrát lepšie pripravené na vstup do Európskej únie, ako je
100
Ukrajina.
better prepared for accession
Ja
than
neviem, pán
Ukraine.
redaktor,
And I don't know,
kto
colleague,
zbombardoval
who
ropnú infraštruktúru na
oil
Ukrajine. Ja neverím
infrastructure
ani
in
jednej, ani
Ukraine.
druhej strane.
I do not believe any of
Budem
those
veriť len
parties.
tomu, čo
I'll
vidím na
believe
vlastné
only
oči.
what I see
Už
with
to bolo
my
toľko
own
klamstiev
eyes.
z
There
jednej
has
aj z
been
druhej
so
strany,
many
že nemám
lies from
odvahu
both
povedať, kto
parties.
zbombardoval
And
alebo
now
zničil čas
I'm not
ropnej
brave enough to
infraštruktúry.
tell who bombed this
My
oil
máme
infrastructure.
informácie, že
According to our information,
už by to malo byť opravené.
apparently it should be fixed.
Len si myslím,
But
že opäť
I
dodávky
think
ropy
that supplies of gas
zo strany Ukrajiny
of oil
smerom
from
do
Ukrainian
Maďarska
side
na Slovensko
towards
sa stane
Hungary
predmetom
and Slovakia
politického
have
vydierania.
become
A
an
tlaku na
instrument
nás,
of
najmä na
political
Maďarsko.
blackmail.
Tak teda
And
Maďarsko
pressure
súhlas
on
s členstvom
Slovakia
Ukrajiny
and
v
Hungary
Európskej únii, možno prídu dodávky ropy.
regarding, and they said that
Myslím
perhaps
si, že budeme
if
mať k tomu
Hungary will
zajtra
agree with
stretnutie,
Ukraine membership to
momentálne
the EU,
dodávky
then
fungujú
maybe
všetko,
some supplies of gas.
pokiaľ ide o výrobky zo Slovnaftu, z rafinérie tu na Slovensku.
Refinery in Bratislava,
Rokujeme
everything
s
works out.
vedením
We're
tejto rafinérie,
discussing things
prijeme
with the
všetky
management
potrebné
of this
opatrenia.
refinery. We'll
Myslím si,
accept
že
all
aj Slovnaft sa
necessary
správa veľmi zodpovedne v tejto
measures.
téme,
I think Slovnaft
ale to, čo sa
refinery
deje
is
dnes
also
okolo ropy,
behaving
vnímam ako politické
properly,
vydieranie
and
smerom
all
Maďarsku
those
kvôli
things regarding
nekompromisnému
oil, I
postoju
think they
Maďarska a
are just a
členstvu
part of
Ukrajiny v
political
Európskej únii.
blackmail
Som
regarding
veľmi
Ukraine
otvorený a
membership to the
priamy a
EU in relation to
nedávam si v
Hungary.
týchto
I'm direct
otázkach
and I'm
národno-štátnych záujmov
in the question
žiadne
of national
servitky pre
interests.
ústa,
I'm
pretože keď je
speaking
ohrozené Maďarsko,
what I believe.
pokiaľ ide o
I'm
ropu,
speaking my
je
mind.
ohrozené aj
And
Slovensko,
when Hungary is
pretože
threatened
všetkú
in
ropu
relation
pre
to oil,
slovenskú
Slovakia
rafinériu
is also threatened
nakupuje
because
Maďarsko,
all
keďže
oil Slovak
rafinéria v
refinery
Bratislave
gets
je
is
vo
bought
vlastníctve
by Hungary because
maďarskej spoločnosti,
Slovak
ktorá sa
refinery
nazýva
is owned
MOL.
by Hungarian
Ďakujem
company
veľmi
called MOL. Thank you very much.
Ďakujeme veľmi pekne.
Thank you very much. This was the last question. Thank you. Bye-bye.